Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you. I am Janet Anthony from the Center of from Excellence HR PMA, and it gives me immense delight and pleasure to welcome all of you to this program, which we are eagerly awaiting on resilience. I'm reminded of Sir Thomas Edison, who said, uh, I have not failed um, I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And this, overcoming and growing from our setbacks is what resilience is all about. And all of us, as we are experiencing resilience on the backdrop of the COVID pandemic, now all of us are participating in this program. We can look forward to some amazing life lessons, great learnings, and amazing takeaways. So it is my privilege to welcome all of you, all our leaders and office bearers of PMA associating partner organizations, Ms. Preeti Sakre of HR Divine and Dr. DG Khalipe of HR Hopes, participants comprising of stalwarts, leaders, professionals from industry and corporate sector, academics, entrepreneurs, students, annual members of PMA as well as non-members, and the speaker of our of the day, Mr. Surendra Nath, and the leaders of PMA, the Center of Excellence, and our director for COE HR, Advocate Girish Bakshi. We are pleased to have all of you on this program as well as all the members of COE HR. At Pune Management Association, we proudly identify ourselves as a body of knowledge, and as a body, we function and execute numerous activities through various organs, and one such organ is Center of Excellence for HR. It gives me immense pleasure to also take cognizance of the presence of our Vice President of PMA, Pradeep Tupe sir. We warmly welcome you, sir, and I must make a mention that Pradeep Tupe sir has been a strong supporter, a backbone for PMA, is completely hands-on, and he is always available to us and a great guiding light to all of us. And before we get into the actual program, I would request your cooperation on some ground rules. All of you are requested to keep your microphones on mute and your cameras off so that we get better bandwidth. You are also requested to post your questions for the speaker in the chat box, and we will have a quick Q&A session at the end of the program, after the main program, and I will ask them on your behalf, and I will request our speaker to share his answers. And depending upon the course and the availability of time, definitely we'll take up the answers. And now to give you a few insights about PMA and its activities, I would request our Vice President, Mr. Pradeep Tupe sir, to share a few thoughts on PMA.
Duty to welcome you all for this very interesting webinar and the topic much. And on behalf of each one of you, I extend my warm welcome to Dr. Surendra Nath, who will be sharing his valuable expertise with our members. Let me speak something about Pune Management Association. As most of the members, I see most of the faces, familiar faces who are regularly attending Pune Management Association. But for those who have not attended earlier the PMA programs, I must mention few highlights of Pune Management Association. It's more than 45 years old organization. Rather, in 1965, it started functioning informally. It started by the great industrialist of our country, late Padma Bhushan Chandraraoji Kirloskar, late Dr. Neelkantharaoji Kalyani, late C.V. Zog, late Chandrakantji Kirloskar, late Mr. Vasantrao Vaidya. All these stalwarts came together and informally they started this activity, Pune Management Association. And later on in 1977, we got ourselves registered as the charitable trust in persuasion of scientific principles of management amongst the young professionals, young entrepreneurs. This is what was the beginning. But as Janet Madam has said, we are recognized in the field as the body of knowledge. But I think I must highlight another point, which I think everybody will appreciate. In addition to the body of knowledge, we are body of volunteers working for PMA. The word volunteer may not give you clear idea what we are doing, or rather what is it. In fact, more than 115 senior professional, I must highlight the word senior, because these volunteers are, most of them are either owners of their own industry, or maybe presidents or vice presidents or general managers working in their respective field. All these 115 plus senior professionals are working as volunteers for Pune Management Association through 14 verticals. As I think most of you are aware, we have divided our activities in 14 different verticals. We call them as Center of Excellence. And through this Center of Excellences, COEs, we extend our activities for the benefit of members as well as non-members, their expertise, and sharing their expertise with the, as I said, with the theme that joy of giving back to the society. I think everybody will appreciate this joy of giving back to the society. They, as I said, they have achieved everything in their lives, but now they want to share their expertise, they want to share their experience with the youngsters, so that these youngsters are benefited, and they can still grow in their own, you can say, career. Uh, I think one or two points again I must highlight. The people like Mr. Talwalkar of Sandvik, director of Sandvik, Mr. S.H. Talwalkar of Finolex, he was again director. Then Dr. M.V. Patwardhan, the chairman of Bank of Maharashtra, Dr. Parkhe of Parkhe Paper Mills, Dr. P.C. Sejwalkar, the management guru, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, the you can say expert in IT field. I don't think you need any introduction about Dr. Natarajan. Then Dr. Mangesh Karad. All these people have decorated various posts, or mostly the president's post at PMA. So this is in short the information about PMA. I take this opportunity to appeal all of you, those who are not the members of Pune Management Association, to visit our website and try to understand what we are doing. And I'm sure you will appreciate what we are doing, and take the membership of Pune Management Association, and you can also enjoy the joy of.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. Thank you, Pradeep, sir. And we have with us our associating partner, Ms. Preeti Sakre from HR Divine. And to give you a little brief about HR Divine and Ms. Preeti Sakre, Sakre ma'am is an HR professional and a renowned speaker, mentor, innovator, and a social activist, and the founder of Divine HR. She has won several awards for enterprising contributions. Divine HR Forum was founded in Jan 2020 with the objective of connecting people with each other and personal and professional growth. The mission of HR Divine is to empower women to lead in all aspects of life, and to lead and help society by empowering women. HR Divine has conducted several programs on varied topics of HR. I would now request Ms. Preeti Sakre to share a few words. Sakre ma'am.
Yeah, good evening to you all, and I welcome to today's speaker for giving such an informations about what is how you can give your happiness towards this life, and how you can contribute towards the joy also. So, as a part of this PMA and Divine HR group, I can say that we are contributing not only to all the people. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Preeti, ma'am. Thank you for those kind words. We also have a Center of Excellence HR. Bakshi sir.
Thank you, Janet, and welcome, Surendra Sarji, and all my colleagues. As you all know, PMHR conducts various programs, and this is one of them. And hope you all enjoy today's program from Surendranath ji. I thank you and request Janet to proceed further in the matter.
Thank you. Thank you, Girish, sir. I would now request my colleague, Mr. Pradeep Joshi, to introduce the speaker of the day, Mr. Surendranath. Joshi, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Surendranath. We welcome you at PMA webinar today in collaboration with Divine HR and HR Works. Dr. Surendranath, we are lucky enough to have you as a faculty today, and we have 14 verticals working in PMA, as Pradeep Tupe has rightly said it, and we look forward to your happy and long association with PMA further. Dr. Surendranath is a passionate senior HR professional with demonstrated experience of about 40 years. He has got rich and versatile experience in HR, IR, legal, learning and development in various industries. He has also worked he's a well-known trainer in training, coaching and mentoring. He is a reputed person in the HR area. He has also worked closely with many labor unions, and based on the organization need, he has signed the settlements of the various industries, having amicable settlement with the union and the people of the organization. The specialty is it is in keeping in mind the future needs of the organization. He has also given the HR face to many organizations. He has work experience in JK Tires, Mysuru, Alcan Tires, ACC Vickers, Babcock, Ispat in Karnataka. He has also worked in Andhra Pradesh in reputed organizations like Ballarpur Industries, Unit, AP Rayons. Let me specially mention you that it's a Naxalite area infested with the Naxalites in Warangal district, and he has brought in many good changes there and given HR face to the organization and has closely worked with the unions. He has also worked in Mahindra Nissan, Alvin, and in Tamil Nadu also he has worked. So Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu are his forte. He is a L&D, Learning and Development Practitioner. He has worked closely for Toyota Kirloskar Motors, Britannia Industries, Mysore Soaps and Detergents, okay? And he has also worked on large greenfield projects in his territory in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. He is a certified AIMA trainer and has got reputed certification of international repute in behavioral analytics. He is a life member of NIPM, Mysore chapter, National HRD Network, Indian Industrial Relations Association, and member of All India Management Association, AIMA. He was chapter chairman of NIPM, Mysuru. He is also council member of Council of Management, AIMIA, for 3 years. So Dr. Surendranath, welcome to you, and we really look forward to share your experience and the tips. He is also a good writer. He has e-capsule titled Futuristic HR Outlook, and he has written many books, delivered many webinars, training and coaching sessions. So we look forward to your happy and long association further, and by today's webinar, all of us will be benefited. Thank you very much.
It is like somewhere, I was now connected with Pune and she contacted me. She had seen. It's actually very difficult for me because you're all stalwarts I may have some experience and other things that is different, but it is a great honor which you people have given me to address you. So I proceed in these two aspects on this religion. I want to make this presentation in two parts. One, I want to give a small introduction of myself and my experience in resilience. I think that may add some good learning for people, because I have you try. If it comes in the same place, we will in the same town where we are there, you can proceed with the engineering. So I studied 1 year in BSc. Then the second year also again I got seat to admission to different place other than my native place. So they said it's not possible. So first of all my dreams have shattered, and this was a big adversity in my life, which I thought. And because of the disappointment, I didn't do well, study well in my graduation. Simply I was going and coming. And fortunately or unfortunately, in BSc, the exams were made once in 3 years, not every year. So in the first year, I was thinking that anyway, I'm going for engineering. I didn't study properly. All this together, I was a dropout in the college, and I have wasted 1 year, and then I passed out. But at that time, I realized what was the mistake I have done. Because all my friends went to post-graduation. Then everybody in my family, they were telling, you have not studied properly. Now you have to look for a job. What job I can get? Just a clerk. But I was not reconciling. I told very people that I cannot go on for clerk and all these things. I want to become something. But everybody was telling, you have not studied properly, how you can become. But I was somehow composing myself, controlling my emotions. And then what happened? I thought that is it the end of my career, just because I just failed in a degree and passed in 3rd class. So at that time, I started looking for some other postgraduate course, job oriented, where minimum qualification is 3rd class. And everybody said, you are getting very crazy ideas. But I went on searching like that. One was I found was Indian Institute of Calcutta, where the entrance test they asked only 3rd class marks. IIM Ahmedabad was asking 2nd class. So I wrote exams for Calcutta, IIM, but I could not succeed. But like that, I was looking for so many other things, all crazy things I used to do, but in my house, they were not accepting and all these things. But there was a big problem from my side to my parents. Then one day, my mother's friend, she was telling about me to her, he's doing all these things. Then their brother, son came from Indore, who was a lecturer in a government college in zoology. Then he said, man, this fellow is a good boy. We know him childhood. Why he is doing like this? And he saw my marks card. He said, I will get him outside state quota. Let him come. He can do MSc Physics. He has scored very good, more than 50%. So because he was telling that he will take me, my parents sent me along with him. So after going there, his cousin also came with me of my age. He also wanted to pursue some post-graduation. Then my guardian told me you have to wait for 2 to 3 days because outside state allocation is not yet done. But this fellow who has come with me, his cousin, he said, I'm going out. So I also went with him. Suddenly we went to institute, one Indore School of Social Work. I said, why are you going there? No, there is personal management course. And I said, I know about this course. In Shivaji University they were doing, but my parents didn't allow me to even get the prospect, just not going outside my town. So we went there. There was not much competition. We attended interview, 4 hours, 2 professors drilled and given admission for us. So without telling my guardian, I admitted that. I got banging from him. Then my father was very much upset. He said, what is this nonsense course? You are doing social work, because somebody told him that social work means a jadu marna, a roadsman. So like that all, but somehow I convinced them and I completed. The moment I did MSW and all these things, there was a lot of demand at that time for industrialization taking place in Andhra Pradesh. So I joined as the welfare officer. I started in HR and I progressed, and that's how I am today before you. See, why I'm telling this story is resilience means what? See, Confucius told, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. So this
Surendranath, I'm sorry to interrupt. Pradeep sir is presenting your PPT. This is just for your knowledge. Yeah.
Next one, sir. So these are some distinct quotation I have given. See, at that time, I was not noting and learning what is the resilience and all these things. I had only one burning desire that I have to become something. I don't want to reconcile with becoming a clerk, but something I have to become on par with my other brothers, elder brothers, that there is some honor and other things will be there in my family and friends, other things. So this made me a life-changing experience actually, because going into Madhya Pradesh, Indore, my food habits were different, language was different. I was forced to learn Hindi there to do my field work and other things. And we are used to South Indians for filter coffee, but I was not getting their morning tea. Then I have to buy a stove, Nescafe. I started lot of these things to adapt myself this thing. So this is how this was. I thought that at that time when I didn't get the seat, what I wanted to become, that was the biggest adverse experience for me in my life. I thought, and because of that, my one burning desire that today I became like that. Then I excelled in my career. But in this, what happened? There is once failure has happened to me. It is my own mistake. Then I realized that what mistake I have done. Then I thought I cannot correct it, but now I have to change of mindset. Now I cannot become an engineer, but I can become something else. Why only to this thing? So mindset change was there. Then when I went to a long 1,000 kilometers away from native place, adaptability to change was very distinct, and I have to accept the reality also at that time that I can't no more become an engineer. So that is how I did. So I would just want to give this introduction because how an individual resilience will be there. See, many of us, we have a lot of failures in some area or other, and we also cope up and come. But resilience, in my view, is something should happen very, very adversely, where we have to rise again. That's what I felt like that. So when we come to organizational this thing, here it is an individual. Organization is made of several individuals. Several hierarchy will be there. It's this thing. So how to bring this into burning desire to everybody, we have to look into that one. So now, what has happened? Why this resilience is very much interested now is, even before pandemic also, lot of organizations, they were working out on this resilient and all things. There were a lot of setbacks in the markets, recessions and other things. But this COVID-19 has brought a very drastic change in our society world over, and we are one among them. You all experienced it. You all know. I don't want to go into details, but business has stopped. 2 lockdowns had affected the economy very well, and organizations have downsized the employees also. So this is the situation where now slowly we are moving into normalcy is coming now. So what is that we have to do? See, what is this resiliency? James Casico says that resilience is all about being able to overcome the unexpected thing. See, nobody expected in the world that this pandemic will create this havoc. Sustainability is about survival. We will survive only for sustain, but the goal of resilience is to thrive, means you have to develop. It is not only survive, we have to thrive and progress. For this, we have to think so many ways, this way, that way, other way. I just put it very interesting picture there, so that we have to think in so many ways we have to do. So let us see in the organization context. Next slide, sir. So this is what I have put when I have completed my degree and I got my first job. This is what the happiness and elation, what I felt that I was very successful like this. I just put it so when you come out of that adversity and this thing, we will be on the top of the world. So resilience lessons, what I learned. There should be burning desire. Yes, I was having that burning desire and sense of personal urgency. Because the urgency is also very important for me, because already 1 year I have lost in this thing. Second time, I don't want to do any mistake and lose any this thing. Then emotional control, it is very, very essential to keep calm and all these things. Suppose if we cannot control our emotions, then we will get very negative ideas, so many other things will come. But one way I was lucky that I could able to control emotional, because I had a nice hobby of cartooning in those days. So this period, suddenly some Telugu magazines and Shankar's Weekly in English started publishing my cartoons. So most of my stress times I was involving in cartooning and publishing as a side this thing, and other way searching for all these things what you are doing. That helped me, I think, in the controlling of my emotions. Then I told you, I have to change the mindset that and accept the reality that I cannot become engineer, but looking for other avenues and finding new wells and adaptability, the performance. So when once I went MSW, now there is no chance that I can failure or anything. I should be very serious. So I was very lucky that I have come up with high second class marks there also. Next slide, sir. So this is what I learned, lessons and practices that could build personal resilience is we have to surround with positive relationships always. See, in all my this 1 year trauma I can't call the stressful, my friends were only the supportive people, my close childhood friends and classmates. They were encouraging me, they never discouraged me. Discouraged coming was from my families and other neighbors, but not from my friends. And I was only thing was I was focusing on that what I should become, something I should become more, but I can't accept the current job. And decision making was very important. So when I went to Indore, decision was there whether I have to wait for the join MSc Physics. I thought that what can I do MSc Physics? I can get maximum teacher's jobs or junior lecturer. So I wanted to do something in industry. I thought that it will be so. I had to take a decision, and without telling my guardian, I opted for MSW. Then I was very optimistic. Even now I am optimistic. That was my trait right from my childhood. And we have to accept, I learned that challenge is what life gives me. So because sometimes in the life things will not have any control. So next step, this is my personal individual resilience. In the organizational context, it is not just like this. We have to survive and prosper. It is not that just because the organization got some losses, they can make out. No, they have to prosper for future. This is the context in the organizational context. Next slide, sir. Next one, please. So organizational resilience means the ability and capacity of a workplace to withstand potential significant economic times, systemic risk, or systemic disruptions by adapting and recovering. So this is what the definition just I have taken. So how do organizations have to do this one? Because it is full of people. So when you say there are two drivers, one is we have to progress, other one is you have to be defensive. And the two behavioral aspects, if you take, one is consistent in, one is flexibility on other axis. If we take, we will take a model of 4 quadrants. This I have adapted from BSA consultants model. So when the progressive means you have to achieve result, that is the main aim of that one. In the consistency comes how we should keep our goals, processes and other things. In the flexibility comes what are our ideas, actions and other behaviors. In the progressive side, one side it will come when consistent progress is there, it is performance improvement or performance optimization. How you should do, you have to do metrics of performance measurement and all those things. But when it comes to flexibility and progressive, then one has to have innovative thinking there. That trait will come there. The same thing, when we take consistent defensive, it will be preventative control. That means what we do, we will be controlling this thing, all our these things, finances, whatever it is, to control that we will not sustain losses. And in the defensive and flexibility, our actions will be limiting. We cannot take drastic action to go further. So after the pandemic, during the pandemic, what happened? Let us see. Where were we? So in this pandemic, we were more this thing that preventative control, because we are cutting costs. We have reduced manpower. Many organizations have reduced manpower, cut costs. Lot of things have taken. I don't want to repeat because each one of you are aware of that one. Same thing. Now, if you want to go further, people started thinking innovatively because that area was more because started working from home. Then what is the facilities to be given for employees, and what are the searching for new markets? See, one of my friends' organization, they were marketing some heavy machinery. They were only, it's a multinational company, Korean company, but they were only concerning marketing in India, only Indian company. Now they have gone for global side. They said we can't market anymore in India. So this kind of changes are taking place. That is innovative thinking they are making and they are dwelling. So when we consider now after pandemic, how we should go about is, one is performance and innovative thinking are very, very essential. We can't go on preventive control. Now we have to do it because you have to monitor your goals and processes to see that our performance optimization of this thing should be there. Performance means in all aspects of the organization and as well as of people. And next thing is innovative thinking. That is the area now because everybody has to have creative skills. They have to think. See, I know one multinational organization in Bangalore. There, even blue collar employees, they thought that the company was paying very well. Now, this is the thing what happened that they know that this is a very drastic change and other things, but they didn't downsize the people to safeguard themselves. What they employees, they said, 5-week work, they said they went and told management, we are ready to work for some time, 6 days a week. This is a welcome measure. It's like even blue collar people also thinking how to be innovative and how to help the organization working more hours and like that. So they are doing. So this is the model. What is required is now we have to know when it comes into the practice. 2 things I told you is progress and this thing. One is consistency. Normally you all know plan, do, check, act, plan, do, check, we do. Consistency, we have to see that one. At the same time, we have to see what is our flexibilities in the handset, what was our experiences, what we did, what we have to do in the foresight, and we have to insight means we have to ourselves introspect, and we have to have a oversight means we have to see what is happening this thing. When these 2 cycles will go together now, I think employers and organizations, they may get some breakthrough ideas how they should do it. Next one, sir. Next slide, please. Perspective of resilience in this aspect is controlling, preventing further damage. That is very, very essential. And innovative thinking, creative skills and other things will come here. Then action, that means now action means urgency, speed is also required. They do no more, they can idle it. Then adapting to the change, adapting to new set of work styles and everything is very, very essential. And performance is the core matter that they have to perform well. These are the perspective of the resilience. So all these things will happen. Who should do all these things? Ultimately, it is the people in the organization who have to do. Ultimately, it all comes into one area of HR, that is employee engagement. And HR people are the champions for this, and they are responsible. Organization looks up at them. Their challenges today now in this resilience, this thing is one. Wellness is very, very important because COVID has not eradicated. They have to follow some new health measures they have to take. And some companies in Bangalore, I know, not only they have vaccinated employees, they extended free vaccination to the complete families. They have extended, not all organizations, some good organizations, they have do it. And now HR people, their first responsibility recently, what they were telling is first they have to see the health care. That is, nobody should contract COVID and all those things. It is a great challenge for them. That is a primary challenge it has become for them. This is one aspect. Then sense of security they have to provide for employees. Now, okay, downsize has taken place. People are not only organization, please go back, sir. Not only organization, what is happening is even the people who are working also, they are not certain about what is future. Because even now we are seeing already Austria is under lockdown. Germany is got scared. These are the news items which are coming in all language. It is not only in English news, because we have a lot of media presence now in each language. So people are getting scared. So it is the job of the organization, that is HR, how they should create a sense of security. That means it makes so many things. So if it's a manufacturing this thing, they have to see that how they have to create the sense of security. In a traditional manufacturing this thing, disciplinary procedures, everything will be very, very strict. But in this context, I think they should be more of educating them than punitive actions. Now, another problem which has come from IT industry recently, where I was talking to them, is all the big IT industry, heavy attrition is taking place. They said about 17% is there. I said, what is the matter? They say lot of small startup companies of IT has come up because of this pandemic. They got an opportunity for startup IT companies, and they are paying very well with a small number. So all the talent is going to the small IT companies, and they are in a big trouble in the larger IT companies, because earlier they have downsized and all these things. That fear me. That is the challenge in IT industry for HR people, that the talent management is very, very essential. Can you go back, sir? Go back, sir. Then here I want to emphasize that empathy for employees is required. That is, in the work culture, there should be a lot of change has to be there. Instead of commanding, the line managers has to be empathetic, and they should be coaches for them. And not only on the work, they have to look after and well-being and inquiring about their families and other things. And they have to make all employees accept to this change. They have to accept, because this pandemic, it is not unlike other recessions and other things. Even blue-collar employees also, now they are fully aware that if they have to survive, the organization has to survive, because many organizations, they didn't pay wages also during lockdown. Only very few companies have given, half pay. It is a big problem. Even Supreme Court also could not do anything. They said, you settle down yourselves, otherwise you come to us. So nobody went back to them. Then developing adaptive skills for the employees is very, very essential challenge for the HR people, because it's very difficult now people to adapt to this new change, because more pressure of work is there. They have to work for extra hours, and they have to acquire new skills also. Suppose if they want to survive, some new technology also, employers may go in any either manufacturing or non-manufacturing or IT. New this thing, they have to develop their skills. And essential this thing is how to way of new thinking. New skills means creative skills, and critical thinking skills is also very, very essential at every level of the employee. And collaborative climate has to be intensified. It is not that it is not there, but today we have to more emphasize will be there on collaborative climate, and they have to instill a sense of urgency. Like earlier days, we can't say we can do later and all these things. A sense of urgency we have to create for my employees, and this is the challenge for the HR people in an organization. This is what I am foreseeing that one. Next slide, sir. So if you want to put, I just put a slide. If you want to see resilience, all these HR challenges will come. And only thing is, ultimately it comes to us that we have to create a burning desire for each employee, how they take their employees, their organization to the next level. Otherwise, they perish altogether. This is a message that should go. And through all our HR skills, learning and development, coaching skills, this is what we have to instill. This is what my small presentation before you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll
I
just
think I have
check
to put in the,
now. Only thing I perhaps have one question. If you could share some example about resilience in organizations before I would request Swapna Madam to propose the vote of thanks.
see, resilience in organization, as I told you, now people are forced to change now. Okay, everybody has understood, even blue collar people in manufacturing or anywhere, if they have to survive, they have to work. That is already there. Now the organizations have to respond with more with empathy and developing them. See, normally what happens, any recession, any pandemic, the first axe is on the training and development budget will be cut. Here what happened in this thing, people lost jobs. Downsizing was the major this thing. Many organizations they have done, there was no exception for anything except for, I know, as publicized in Tata Industries. Tata Steel, they said we don't downsize, and very good companies, they have not downsized, and they paid full wages also, salaries for them. But not all companies have done like that. So that's what I said. The challenge for HR here is how to mold the people into putting the sense of urgency, and they have to come up to this one. So they have to revisit their all HR policies and also many people, organizations, they are giving leaves also. They have liberally extending on health grounds and other things. Health insurance they are giving. Toyota Kirloskar for all employees they have given COVID insurance 100% like that. Lot of things they have because they want to create confidence on them. Again, resilience is not nothing new. Everybody would have experienced it, but now unless they change their mindset and they work creatively and wholeheartedly work, organization cannot come up. This is what the message every employee should get it from HR side. I don't know how HR will do it because they have to carry together. They are the champions. They have to balance both.
Propose a vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to our honorable chief speaker, Mr. Surendra Nathan, sir, the energetic and Surendra Nathan, sir, energetic audience, and all the PMA dignitaries and members, our associating partner organizations, HR Divine and HR Hope. First of all,
Program called